Hey all, Board Game Nerds here. We'll find everything solo, tabletop gaming, and more. Here are some thoughts about underwater cities. Please keep in mind this is from a solo perspective, that these thoughts are subject to change with more plays, and this is a matter of personal taste, namely mine. Here we go. So, if you'd like, I just finished up a playthrough of this and ended up with what you're seeing here. You might check that out to just know a little bit about the game here. I'm not going to go over a bunch on what you're doing other than building a network of underwater cities. And you basically start with just this guy alone, nothing else. No tunnels, no buildings, no other cities. And over the course of 10 rounds, you build out and try and connect to metropolises and stuff here to score extra bonus points, get extra production ability, all sorts of stuff. And very much, there's a very set amount of actions you get to do as you start here and work your way up the track to this final scoring there. And there are 10 rounds that you play, and the first era is 4 rounds, the second era is 3, and the third and final era is 3 rounds. And each of those rounds, you get to take 3 actions, which you'll use your little action selector here to do. And you get to choose among one of these 12 actions out here. And while you're doing that, a big part of the game is, and one of the more fun things is, you'll have a hand of cards, and ideally you want to take an action that matches the color of card that you have in your hand, so that you have to spend a card. When you take an action, you have to spend one of your cards out of your hand. And if it's green, then you get to take that action on that card. If it is not green, then you just have to throw away the card, discard it, which is kind of a waste. And ideally you want to maximize all the different little actions and nuances that you can take. So you want to essentially be taking colored actions, either orange, red, or green, that match cards in your hand, so that you can get the maximum benefit out of each turn. And things I like about this game are, it's very, a lot of people, and I would agree, they kind of compare the tableau building to Terraforming Mars. Because you're going to have, a hand of cards, usually 3. Usually have 3 cards. You're always going to be discarding down to 3 cards for the most part. And then over the course of taking actions, you're going to be placing or playing cards. And some of those cards are going to stay in your tableau. Some are going to be, one-time actions that you just discard. But as you're building your tableau, here I've got actions that I can use once per era, and I exhaust them. And then when the era is over, I get to unexhaust them. And then over here, I've got things that if I take certain actions, I can get little special goodies. So you can build your engine in such a way. Oh, mine was here. Every time I built a tunnel, I got some credits, and I got some steel ply, I got some goods back every time I upgraded tunnels. And then over here, this little symbol here means, so this row here represents when there was a production phase, and there's only 3 production phases in this game. I got these goodies during the production phase, and over here, this was a little end scoring game card. Turned out it did me no good, but anywho, so you're playing cards, and in that way, it very much reminds me of Terraforming Mars. The way, though, that one of the things I like better about this than I like Terraforming Mars, though, is that the cards come out in a way that makes sense to me. Terraforming Mars, the biggest thing I didn't like was it's just this mountain of cards, and you'd get cards that you have no chance of using. So it was felt kind of wasteful. And then this one, though, you start with Era 1 cards, and you go through those, and those are all, toned to the beginning of the game and what you can do. And then you'll bust out, once you hit Era 2, you'll bust out Era 2 cards, and those are a little bit stronger cards. And then at the end, you bust out 3. So it's a little bit like, Through the Ages or something. There's sort of a progression of the cards that you'll see and have in your hand that matches where you're generally at in building your cities. And but if you get a game like Race for the Galaxy, that game kind of started that whole thing, if you will, of using cards to be able to purchase stuff. And in Race for the Galaxy, it worked really well because even if you got these super big, spendy cards, you can just use them to pay for lesser cards. So there was ways to cycle through it, mitigated just getting weird, random, too strong of cards early in the game. So that's one of my biggest issues with Terraforming Mars, and one of the things I like a mechanism like this, where if you're going to be getting cards and playing them, that it goes through it in eras so that it just keeps pace with the game. So I really enjoyed that part about it, but still, through and through, this is more of an action selection worker placement game. And when you're playing multiplayer, though, there's going to be a little battle. You'll vie for places, and someone might steal a spot before you. That's a bum deal. But here, the solo, the way it moves is this, just the solo color for me was orange, and it just basically shifted down. Each round, it would just kind of shift in a very predictable manner. And then there was a little unpredictability where this thing could sometimes come out and block a spot. But for the most part, you're not really playing an opponent. You're just trying to get 7 cities built and score 100 points, and then you win the game. But there's no opponent that you're really... some people like that. I prefer more of an Automa-style opponent. I am much more a fan of like the Scythe and the... just where there's a Gaia Project. I love Automa Factory. Automa Factory turns out awesome stuff that gives me an opponent to play against, and that is my preference. This does not have that. It's just more of a impeding kind of thing that gets in your way as you try to get those 7 cities and 100 points. So not my favorite, but the game looks beautiful. I really enjoy the way it looks. The component quality, especially the board's a little chintzy. This is very very thin, but I mean it works. It's but it's questionable. I don't understand why they didn't maybe upgrade certain component qualities, but it's perfectly playable. This board is fine. On the other side of this actually is a little bit different layout. This one is just the 1 to 2 player layout. You flip this whole board over if you play with multiplayers. And I do like this, how the things are staged, sort of end game scoring opportunities that come out randomly. There's 10 different cards, and 6 come out different each game, and it gives you a focus to try and maximize a certain way of playing and scoring extra points because of it. I did terrible in taking advantage of that, but so I like that little setup. I don't like the fact that there's another little expansion-y thing here that you can do, and sort of a race to get these cards that you can only use in multiplayer. And that always drives me kind of crazy when there's a little tidbit like, oh, there's this cool little feature, a little expansion thing, but you don't get to play it if you play solo. So that's a little bit of a bummer. But all in all, I enjoy the game. I don't know how much I will continue to play this. Once I get a couple wins under my belt, then these sort of games tend to get a little old for me. But about 10 games in I am, and I have yet to win, so it's still holding my attention. That is Underwater Cities, and some thoughts on that. Take them, please, only for what they're worth. I appreciate you watching. I'm Board Game Rants. Till next time, I'm out.